I hope that you will all be excited about to help us with. So again, thank you for all of your help, and I hope that this goes favorably tonight for us.
I just thought of something, Chair, if I may. Okay, the Martin Luther King Center is first come, first served facility on our adults. I think, and it goes to the discretion of the chair, but Rick, I think you need to reserve that part. For the simple reason, if they throw birthday parties out there all the time.
Right.
Okay, but if one Crowley would reserve.
I'm going tomorrow to fill out the rental information.
There we go. I mean, no, I'm talking about the outdoors.
Oh, the outdoor building too,
Let
okay.
everybody know, and what it does is that at a certain time in the morning, our police officers will clear that area.
Okay,
Because you got some people, I just thought about that, they have parties out there every day.
okay.
And you don't want them interfering, I mean, it's only from what, 10
10 to 2.
10 to 2.
Right.
So that let them know from 10 to 2, there's no activity out here, and well, I think that'd be something.
Whenever I go to do the rental, I'll make sure she puts me on the book to reserve the outside too.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you, there'll be some people with some cans that you ain't gonna want at that party. It is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin, as
Thank you,
always.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. I appreciate what you're doing for the city of Crowley. And I'm behind Crowley 100%, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I apologize for not being there, I had to work, man.
No. Look, like I said, a lot of our events are on Saturdays, and I understand every single one of you have a job. I understand every single one of you have families, and I know some of you work literally from 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning until 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoons and the evenings. And I'm looking at you, Mr. Court. So I understand Saturday. I'm sorry. You too, Stringfellow. I'm sorry. And so I understand that Saturdays y'all sleep in day and the day with the family and everything else. Just knowing that y'all support us sitting in the chairs that y'all are in and behind the desk that y'all are at is sufficing. So thank you.
Sure, Rick, just for a comment, Kim and I did plan to come out on our lunch break to help out with the milk, but you did such a great job, it was all gone by the time we were ready to go.
Hey, that was me.
I was about to say,
Sorry, give it out milk.
we had our own muscle with us for both days. Just to let y'all know, the first day we did right at 200 gallons, and that was going in about 30 minutes. The second day we did 400 gallons, and we started that giveaway right at 10:30, and as y'all know, if y'all showed up at noon, we were already locked up and gone. So, we were very happy to be able to help all the residents of Crowley, especially South Crowley, with that.
I agree with you, Mr. Rick. I showed up a day after 11, and
Yeah.
everything was cool.
Yeah,
So I appreciate that. Mr.
thank you. Thank you. If y'all don't have any more questions, I'll sit in.
Discussion item. Consider an offer city-owned property for sale.
Byron, need to vote on that first.
Do we, make a motion?
But there's a motion and a second, just need to vote on it.
Do I get a vote on that? All in favor? Nays, you got the same right? Ayes have it. On the discussion item, consider offering the city-owned property for sale that are not essential to the service provided by the city of Crowley. Discussion item.
What type of properties? Is there anything?
I'm the one that wanted to add that to the agenda for discussion. I was anticipating of having a budget to look at before the meeting. So of course, before major cuts were made, I wanted to make sure that all the properties that the city owns currently are essential to our needs. I know of one property particularly at the corner of Avenue C and West First Street. It's a warehouse building. It's in a horrible condition. No repairs, no maintenance has been done. The grass is soft. If the city can't maintain that, there's no use to have it to continue to deteriorate. And certainly we can take that revenue and use toward whatever budgetary needs we so desperately need. So anyway, I just want to keep that, bring that up for discussion, maybe to have those properties category. I think that you go to the assessor's website, I believe, Byron, you received the, assessor's sheets for all the properties owned by Crowley. Unfortunately, those maps were black and white, and it's a color image, and you couldn't make out anything, but I think that's something we ought to consider is what properties are really essential to serving the needs of our city, and which of those can be considered surplus property and sold, if we have budgetary constraints, in the upcoming, months or years.
I agree with you too, because I got 76 pages I got, duplicated. I mean, I couldn't even make out what the property was, because they had post office back there. It just doesn't make sense that in today's time, we still have to keep information like that. There's no reason that we've gone back 20 years ago to 21st century, and we just go to the computer or whatever y'all do, and just forward somebody some information that they can't read. It should be simple in a spreadsheet, by property, by order, by owner's name, alphabetical order, whatever. So the lowest person can read it and understand it. But, Mr. Clint Craig was first.
Brad, you're talking about the occasion bag is the bad one, right? Didn't we authorize the mayor a while back? We had somebody interested in that property, we authorized the mayor to take bids and to get an appraisal and do all this stuff so we could get rid of that, whatever.
An appraisal was done, the person who was interested in purchasing the property, didn't want to pay the appraised amount, and that's all that's happened now, and since then.
First of all, any appraised property, this council has a right to. In other words, if it's for the betterment of the city, it's 2/3 of the appraised price. Am I right? 2/3?
I'm not sure what the current law is on that.
Well, that's what I thought, but what I'm saying is this, if there's a piece of property that the city owns, and I'm surprised, you say you have how many sheets?
76.
That the city owns?
That would be the assessment, which could have an assessment sheet and a map behind it, so it doesn't mean 76 properties.
Oh, I'm about to say, man, look.
It was 76 pages of legible information that was
Okay,
scanned.
well, I'll tell you what, the best thing to do is you go talk to Jimbo Pettis, our assessor, and tell him his brother from another mother sent you. And Jimbo will help you with that. Because I remember we had done this, and, Stephen, Mayor Dela Houston was we had gotten that building because we had swapped out something, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait,
It's been that long, but we had swapped out something.
No, the building that Brad you're talking to, that was donated to
That was
the city.
donated, right,
It was donated,
Yes,
yes.
and it just sat there, you can't sell it?
and that was donated under Mayor Jones.
Oh, okay, John, I know we had something, oh, I know, that was the enterprise center, okay, that was good.
And the issue, Steph, is that, these buildings don't have a for sale sign called City of Crowley, and there's nothing, no one knows they're available, and certainly the council, I think, should determine if they're deemed
You should
surplus.
have that. You should know every building that the city owns.
And one other thing we need to make sure of, because some properties have restrictions, for instance, if someone donated the property in the past, they may have a restriction that it can only be, you can never be sold by the city. So that's something that should be in the document of possession when we acquire the property.
But if I'm not mistaken, the way the city, the Larson Act reads, that I don't think that stipulation can be enhanced to, for the simple reason, anytime that you donate something to the city, it's on an as-is basis. Now, there's certain, criteria that I've witnessed, but not over here in Crowley, being in the housing business, where they have a covenant on the property, where it can't be used for certain things. But if I'm not mistaken, once something is donated to the city, I'm pretty sure Tom is listening, he can give us a better synopsis of it. But anytime you donate something to the city, it's on the basis of do what you want with it. But then it may be, I don't know.
Well, he just texted and said that we cannot take less than the appraised value.
Okay, but action does the appraised value start at 2/3? I don't know, that's what I'm asking. Of the actual value.
It's whoever appraised it, whatever the appraisal comes back at.
Okay? All right, well, I'm just asking, I don't know,
Yes.
I don't know. Tom, thank you, appreciate it.
Anyway, I just wanted to have that discussion, I keep that in mind, that is something that we could consider.
There be no, any other items to come before public business? If there's no further items for public business rest.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilbur. Insurance and personnel, Ms. Stringfellow.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. The Insurance and Personnel Committee will convene, Mr. Fogelman had to leave. I got a report from Mr. Louis Romero, Chairman of the Municipal Police and Firefighters Civil Service Board. As the fire chief indicated, they did take the test, and they have the results. They will approve the results at their meeting on the 12th. That's also a public hearing on the 12th, and that's going to be about this, they're discussing their holiday pay at that meeting. If anyone would like to go to that, it will be at 8 o'clock in the morning on the 12th. There are no action items. Discussion item is to discuss the enactment of an ordinance regarding time accounting for the City of Crowley employees and employees of the City of Crowley Police Department. And this is, in a way, for me to look at certain departments' policies and procedures and kind of just revamp, if you will, some of them. And I had presented an ordinance to Mr. Reagan regarding this. All departments have a time, they have a time clock, but they have to actually then put their finger on the time. And it doesn't necessarily make sense for the police department to have that type of time clock. Just the manner of their work is different than other departments. And I'll give each of you a copy of that. I think y'all already got a copy sent out to you. And that's something we can think about for possibly next month. Did anybody have any questions about that? Yes, Mr. Martin.
So this is gonna be done for fire and police?
Just for police.
What about the fire department? I mean, I think they have the same restraints, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, if there's a fire, I don't know how the fire department goes. The chief still here?
Yep.
Chief, when you call your guys out, let's say they, are they on 24-hour call? How do you do that? Do you do like a mutual aid or something? Something new.
If we do get a call and they respond and they need, we sound a second alarm for the people that are off duty to come. They respond directly to the call. And we mark their time in at the time of the call, then we sound the second alarm. And whenever we're finished with everything, they all have to go to the station and clock out.
Oh, okay. Is that what you look for?
I think the main thing, the difference with the fire department and the police department is that the police, many of them take their vehicles home and then they're coming to work in their vehicle, and if they see something happen, they can respond on their way to work, and, but I mean, we could, discuss further regarding the fire department, but I think that was the main reason for the distinction for the police department.
So basically what you're saying, if I may, Chair, they're not officially on duty. In other words, you see somebody that just got shot, you hold up, I'll be right back, I gotta go check in.
Right, they have to go clock in,
No,
that's kind of
Or black tie.
Hope that it never happened, but I think that's.
and our police officers would stop and help them anyway, but, do we want to have that type of police department where we're not paying them to, do that? That's maybe a discussion item.
Yeah.
Mr. Jeff?
Yes, I understand, but I'm hesitant about making the exception the rule. You can always adjust for the exception, because there's always an alternative or opposite. For instance, as you know, because I've asked, because 6:45, I passed the Lafayette Police Station in the mornings, And I've asked him, what's the Crowley Police Unit doing there? Well, he lives in Lafayette, so he drives back. So he's trying to tell me that his time's gonna start when he gets in that unit in Lafayette, drives to Crowley, and come back?
No,
Or does his time start when he gets to his office, punches in, and starts his operation? So that would mean, that could happen for anyone. So if along the way, he gets to Crowley and there's an accident, well, sure, I agree, he's gonna stop. And that one incident, that one exception, is gonna be adjusted by his superior. But to make that the rule, I think we're going down a path we may not wanna go down, because what ends up happening, and I've seen it in business, everybody. I'm sure Mr. Martin understood the term pencil whip. It happens, everybody's human. So what happens is that 12-hour shift becomes 11 and a half hours. Ooh, look, my wife just called, she wants me home real early, or something happens, or I gotta go get my kids. I'm an hour short. Well, just move me down to 12. You know what happens when that happens. And I think that's what's trying to be avoided. And it just keeps everybody above board by having some sort of documentation or official documentation, which is what a time clock is. So that's my input.
Yeah, I'd like to respond to that.
Go ahead.
The reason that we do it, a lot of times, and I've had it done myself personally, on my way to work, or I gotta be working 5 to the other half hour window, 5:30, 6 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, we get a fire. They sound a second alarm. I'm going over there. I didn't get the clock in. But then when the fire is over with, we clock out. My time stopped. And that's why with the call at the end, I have documentation that guy, that if somebody like you say, right at the time, like you're saying, come up with an excuse, I'm going to this call or not.
Yeah, the time clock can be adjusted at that time.
We can adjust
Right,
the times and you got to pay,
Got
to do it. So, if that officer's on his way to work and he goes to a call, he tells the superior officer, I didn't punch in here. We have forms that they didn't punch in, and it's all got to be filled out.
But they also will radio in to the dispatch and let them know where they are and what they're doing
Right.
at the time. So it's not something that they just take in their time without being logged in, like you were saying.
There's a form that we have to form that you fill out.
As far as your officer's payroll, has it been consistent, or do you find inconsistency since the time clocks were put in?
No, we haven't had any problem with the time clock. And
As far as your payroll?
With payroll, that's why we have the forms and everything is, and it falls in place. If I got a guy work 48 hours, because he came to a call, my paperwork has documentation showing where the other 24 come from. And when we do that there, it's just a form you fill out, and it's sent to payroll to where, okay, this is the explanation why this guy got this many hours. He came in to work early, or he had to stay late because we had a fire.
But none of your employees take up vehicles home, or do
No,
they?
we don't get that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't, yeah, fire truck, yeah.
So,
Okay, thank you, Chief.
just give y'all that clarification.
Yes, sir, thank you. Yes, Ms. Shealy?
I just want to clarify something. The time clock is not just for the time, actual keeping track of the time. It is also, we keep track of vacation time, we keep track of any time leave that we have. That time clock tracks everything. As of today, we did payroll today. We found a discrepancy in the payroll where some of the employees have overtaken time and we can take back on their payroll. If that would not have happened, again, like you said, it's gonna be something penciled in, it could happen. That may not be the case that happened, but it happened. Another thing is, what you asked about the checks being different, we used to pay from whatever the time she came. If they have a 12-hour shift, we pay straight 12-hour shifts. The policemen always had the same checks. Now they're saying the checks are different. That's because now they're getting paid every penny that's on that check. So it's going to be different every time they get a check. because if they punch it in and it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's gonna be exactly what they made on their check. So that's why their checks are always gonna be different. It's never gonna be the same.
Mr. Martin?
Okay, so I just caught on what you were saying, so every minute has a price.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm good with that.
And that's why they're saying that the checks are so different, but I just wanted to.
How do the time clocks calculate their vacation time?
You put in for vacation time, an employee has to request for time, and when they request for time on the clock, it sends an email to their supervisor.
So there is an app or something on
It has a recording system on
their
it,
phone?
where it records, yes.
Is that app up and running where they can
Yes,
clock
it's
in on
always
their
been up and
phone?
running.
Oh, okay.
Whether they wanna use it or not is another problem, but it is up and running,
It is.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And it actually translates all of that time from the time
So they'll
clock, goes
know-
straight to our computer and puts it in payroll.
And so they'll know how much time they have left on their vacation or sick days or from that
Yes.
app?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Julie, with the time clock, say for instance, the officer is going to work, he leaves his home at 4:30, 4:15, there's an accident in the city of Crowley that he responds to. That extra 15 minutes, how is that logged in?
All he has to do is fill out, it's an adjustment leave sheet, and an adjustment time sheet. All he has to do is fill that in from the time it started to the time it ends or whatever he had to do, and his supervisor signs off, and that's inputted into the system.
Okay, so we do have
So you
something.
don't have to physically punch it, but they can do an adjustment sheet, and then that can be adjusted at that time, and they are paid for it.
Okay.
I did, that's what I just told them, that we caught some errors in payroll.
The errors on our side.
Oh, yeah, all right. Well, you want to explain that?
Yeah, that's what they're talking.
We had some errors that came up on our last payroll that, the way I input the payroll, you can input it one way, and if you put it, I don't want to say it, it's hard to explain when I pay for it.
So you're just inputting the payroll that has been adjusted
I
though,
have to manually, because our system is not,
but not all of them, but just the ones that are adjusted, right?
I have to, right now, our system, the old system that we have, the computer system, I have to manually input everybody's time.
Oh, okay.
Before, we could do it, but now with the system we have, it's not allowing us to do it anymore. We are training on our new system next week,
Okay.
where we have the new system coming in, so that's gonna be a big help. By the new fiscal year, we will have it up and running for the new computer system.
So you're training next week and it'll be implemented, by September first?
The system that we have now, we can enter it, and it throws everything. You can explain more than I can, yes.
They have a few side star systems. They have where you put in, say, an O for overtime, a C for city pay, R for rates. And we have several sections. We have a regular section that if they work their 80 hours, that's where it's gonna go. Right below that, there's an overtime section. You think that that's where you put overtime hours. Down here, you have the different overtimes, like their TEDs and holiday pay and special 4 hours pay. Well, apparently, and this has just recently happened within the last 6 months, that regular overtime is taking their rate pay, their city pay, and turning it into overtime. But because they get supplemental pay, that's included in their overtime pay. So it is supposed to take their rate pay and multiply it 1.5, and that is their overtime rate. And that's what they've been missing, is the difference between city overtime and their rates with their supplemental. It is a glitch in the system.
And they will repay back,
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
And what system is that?
The one that we're working on right now, the computer that you look at is called Bossa Nova. But it's basically, it's a mainframe system is what it is, and it can be changed by the computer consultants, which we have 3. The new system that we're going to is called Public. They're nationwide. They're out of South Carolina. They are, just a
And
little
that's what you're
bit.
gonna be trained on next week, just public?
Yes, ma'am. Everything but the work orders is going to the public software. Everything.
Even Tony's, stuff?
Well, because he has a computer program, that he's happy with. They do offer that, but he is happy with his computer program and is doing what he
So
says.
public will only replace Bossa Nova,
Except for the work orders,
except for
yes.
work orders. Mr. Cole?
Regarding the software that Tony's using, you know, I'm sorry?
Tracy?
Well, but you know, we were supposed to get completed work orders emailed to us and we don't. Is that a problem with the software that Tony's using? Because certainly, you know, we want to know when work orders are completed, we get them when we submit
So
them.
Tony's is just the code enforcement, right?
I would assume, yes.
Just the code enforcement, so that would be through his area.
We don't get it.
But see, we never get any feedback.
See, he's not in the Bossa Nova system with his stuff is through Gracie's. The work order system is through it, I mean, it could always be added to the Bossa Nova system as a work order process. It's just putting another process on them by them putting it in two different computer systems.
Well, all I'm trying to do is streamline to when we put a work order in, we get a copy that it was placed, and then when it's completed, we ought to get feedback.
When, I can tell you that when we went looking for a system, we asked them, because we wanted uniform, everybody on one thing, not just 2 and 3 in one building, because that's basically what we have. And they can offer everything but the work order system, but they do have a system that they work with that mingles with them, but they have not taken on that part to make that part of their computer software yet.
The software package, oh, okay, I see.
Right. They do not offer work orders to anyone.
Okay.
Will they in the future? I hope so, because they are picking up a lot of cities. And they started off as a pharmaceutical company. They were not into the city, so they're picking up more city governments. They're moving more into Louisiana, so we're hoping. I mean, we beg for it, you know, of course, we want it to happen, but they don't offer it, but they have people that they mingle with. They're Tony's happy with Gracie's.
Yeah, thank you, ladies. Mr. Reagan did send us a letter regarding this, and he asked that we read it. He sent it at 3:30, so I didn't get a chance to print it out. Probably read it from my email. Let me read it from my email.
It should be in your packet, Kim.
Oh, it is? Okay. It's kind of lengthy, but, so he looked over the proposed ordinance, I'm skipping, I'm sorry. It is my understanding that the issues have been resolved since Chief Broussard advised he had reinstituted the time clock policy on June 17th. He recommended that any officer who had an issue with the reinstatement of the time clock policy contact the Board of Labor regarding the same. According to emails from the chief, most, if not all, of the issues have been resolved. The chief acknowledged the time clock was properly programmed according to the information provided by Ms. Fontenot, and that officers simply failed to utilize the correct designation for the hours they were working. The chief further stated that the use of the time clock had already proved very effective since it documented an officer was consistently late for work over an hour, but claimed he began work at the regular shift time, receiving pay for an additional unworked hour each shift. The chief confirmed he had disciplined the officer for claiming that hour. This ordinance creates an exception for all employees of the police department and authorizes the chief in his sole discretion to determine a method of record keeping for regular payroll accounting. This language is somewhat troubling in the sense that it creates an exception only for the police department and further appears to only deal with regular payroll accounting. It does not address the procedures or requirements for overtime, holiday, vacation, etc., which the current policy does address. Furthermore, the current policies in place for payroll accounting for all employees is not only uniform, but it also provides for a means of accounting for all types of hours worked in accordance with the recommendations from the city auditor and the guidelines of the legislative auditor. He further states that it is a general recommendation he makes to all of his clients to strengthen internal controls. That's the auditor. Again, I'm kind of stupid. Same thing, the legislative auditor states the best practices for this type of timekeeping. Payroll is the largest expense in the police's department's budget, as is all city department budgets. Proper control and accounting of payroll hours is an essential tool. And it just goes on to discuss why that is. While the law does not require, nor does the legislative auditor or the city auditor require the use of a time clock, it is the generally accepted method of payroll accounting for employees' time. So, and he just reiterates that. If anyone does want to see the entire letter, just contact me and I can get it to you.
Excuse me, they should each have a copy in their packet.
I meant like a citizen. But thank you. And if there's no other, is there anything else to come before the insurance personnel committee? And committee recess.
Thank you, Ms. Stringfellow. Community and Economic Development, Mr. Reggie.
Thank you. We do have a quorum under action items. I have none. Right at this time, I'd like to recognize Ms. Jill and Mr. LJ with Crowley Main Street.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank Mr. Reggie for allowing us to speak tonight. But I want to start by specifically acknowledging one lady who has been such a big part of our Main Street community, our Main Street board, our city, and really, so many parts of all our lives is Ms. Charlotte Jeffers. And the Main Street board is going to be all of us, myself included, all of us, I think the whole city. It's going to feel the impact of Ms. Charlotte's passing more and more. And I can't say how much I've enjoyed working with Ms. Charlotte. Having said that, we're here to kind of talk about the Main Street organization and the impact that it's done for the city. And right now, I think as many of you know, that Ms. Charlotte was our designated Main Street manager. With the recent COVID things that have happened, the city she was laid off. The Main Street Board has taken over a lot more of the roles of the Main Street program, but we've always played a very active role in running the organization. And I don't know if the city knows really what all this Main Street Board has done and is doing, and we have a very active board. We believe in the Main Street program. We also believe that it's a program that brings economic development to our city, which I think, speaks for itself. It's a Main Street program that is known statewide and nationally known. Crowley is on the map for preservation and what we've done downtown. And we owe a lot of that to previous administrations who saw the need and the foresight of what this program can do. A lot of things that we've also been taking on is that the City of Crowley is a cultural district, it is a historic district, it is a certified local government. And the Main Street Board has been taking on a lot of those roles and keeping the city's status as each one of those particular entities. And without a designated manager, and we're all volunteers. So I guess we're here to kind of speak our ask. I know y'all talking about the budgets in the next couple of months, and we're here to ask for your support to continue the Main Street program. And Mr. LJ, would you like to say anything?
Well, thank y'all for allowing us to come. And we've always said we need financial the city. Since Ms. Rita Johnson was terminated and then she passed, we have been running like a stepchild. We could have ignored it, we could have walked away from it. The city would have lost a lot of economic development that we have brought to Crowley, not just downtown, but to the city. And the volunteers over the years has kept it going. The only reason the mayor appointed Charlotte, because he had appointed Tony prior to, was that the state mandates it cannot be run by volunteers anymore. When it first started back in the 80s, it was a volunteer organization. In fact, the lady who helped to get it all started, her name is Mary Means. She is writing a book. But it was supposed to be volunteers for 10 years, and then it was going to be where the cities had to financially maintain it. And she's writing a book, and Crowley will be in her book. In fact, she's very proud of what Crowley has done. I've spoken with her several times. However, the city seems like they don't want to financially support it. It cannot happen anymore. We can do away with it, but we will lose the opportunities for investment tax credits, where people won't be able to get tax credits when they improve their properties. You won't be able to get facade grants to improve properties. In other words, we'll be left out in the cold. And I asked Jimbo, I said, what is the assessment going up on the Main Street in the last 10 years? He said, I've got to do an analysis. I have it on my desk. It's approximately $6,000 a year. And he said, and you know what, LJ? He said, it's coming up for the 4-year reevaluation. He said, it's going to go up a lot more than that. And I asked the lady in charge of the sales tax, and I forget her name right now, but because of COVID, they couldn't get the information. I wanted to know what the sales tax increases have been in the last 10 years because of the renovations on Main Street and the businesses on Main Street. And so we are still waiting for her report. And she said, I think it's up. And she said, you want it by business? I said, no, that's personal information. I want it by the district. That's all I need to know is by the district. But we're here now, and like I said, Charlotte, she was invaluable to us. But I would tell you who else was invaluable to us was Jill Habits and Connie John. If y'all would see the reports and the work that goes into preparing everything, not only for the city, for the state, and for the U.S. Park Service, but also for the Revenue Department, the federal Revenue Department. It's unsurmountable. It is a lot. And we're doing this with volunteers. And I know it's late now, so we're ready to go. Well, we're asking, y'all working on the budget. The last time the City of Crowley funded Crowley Main Street, it was $60,000 a year. We're asking to please put the Main Street program back into the city budget. We can manage it, we can do it. Now, we became a nonprofit several years ago because after Rita was terminated, people didn't want to give money to Main Street or to the city to use for Main Street because they were afraid the money wasn't going to go where it needed to be. So we became a nonprofit. We work with the city, we can work through the city, and but we can still work with a cooperative endeavorment agreement with the city. But if the city could put it back into the budget, we need stability. We need stability, okay? And like I said, the last time it was funded, it was approximately, I want to say 10 years ago. So we're just asking, just put it back in the budget. We need stability. It will help us to where these volunteers are spending their own money to go to these meetings and stuff that are required, and more and more is being required. And we can show how we can bring economic development, continue bringing it to Crowley, not just downtown, because they keep changing the regulations of what's qualifies. And now you're not going to just historical stuff anymore. You're going to things that have been built as recently as 1950, that you can get these benefits for, that help develop. And believe me, the money spent just on this main street, if you would just look at the sales tax for the materials that have been used, not counting the jobs that have been created. It brings a lot to Crowley, and we're a small town, but we're getting recognition from all over the United States. And it's a good group of people doing it, but we need someone who is hired to help make everything work smoothly.
Mr. Craig?
Yes,
Yeah, Mr. LJ, as you well know, my wife and I are both proponents of the main street.
been part
My
of it.
question would be, the mayor's working on his budget now. Has he met with the Main Street Board to discuss your needs, for one, and has he met with the Main Street Board to recommend or ask your recommendation for a replacement for Charlotte? Because we all know how important she was to not only Main Street, but to tourists and everything else. Those are my two questions, because as you know, and you've heard here, we've had no input in this budget whatsoever. We don't even know, if there's a budget made up or whatever. But I would think that the discussion should have already been had with the mayor if you wanted something put into his budget for this year, because we should have got that tonight, actually. Well, we should have got that last month. But I don't know how we can do it now that he's in the hospital, but that should have been done months ago, I guess.
Well,
How can we help you is what my question is. What can we do?
okay. And I got Steph holding his hand, and
Well,
Miss
we're all-
Gibbs holding her hand.
I'll tell you how to do it.
You want to answer Clint first, or?
Well, okay, let me, we've always been $1 late and a week short. Okay, we always talk about this after the budget is passed. This has been going on for several years. Now, Councilman Reggie is on our board. He's the city's representative on our board. And he was speaking with Jill, and he said to come tonight. And then Jill texted me. So here we are. And we came from the funeral home. And it's sad about Charlotte. I mean, it's a shock. And I feel so sorry for her family. But she was very, very helpful. But all the ladies, and there's a couple of men on the board, besides Sam and me, and Jeff Doray's on the board, the rest of the ladies. We have 9 volunteers on this board. The first thing I thought about is we've got to come after you invited, Jill to come. And she said, you'll come? I said, I'll come with you. But I said, let's go, because Sam invited us. Really, after I'm looking at the agenda, Mr. Cavell, I should have been at your session, coming after this one, because you're in charge of that. But this is the end of the night, so we're here asking, and that's it. And how can we help? If y'all could just put us on the budget for the $60,000 that it used to get. We need a lot more than that, because our budget's about $120,000. But now we do have fundraisers and other things, okay? So, okay.
I just have a quick question. Mine goes to personnel. Do you, for the Main Street program, do you need an employee at City Hall to be a liaison?
Not necessarily an employee at City Hall, an employee on the board, an employee that actually runs the main street.
I got you.
Now,
Okay.
it could be a city employee,
Right.
okay? But it's got to be an employee who is not by name only. And that's what we were getting. Tony was for a while.
Will y'all lose
Tony
your...
was promoted up, after Danny passed. And they gave it to Charlotte. I don't know if they were paying her anything extra. I don't think they were. But that's not what we're looking for. We need an employee.
An active.
Oh, yes.
And y'all will lose your, the standing if you don't Get that, am I correct?
We're losing,
Yeah,
we're losing.
thank you.
Now, there is other main streets that are a separate corporation like this one. They're 501c3, but they have their endeavor agreement to work with the city, and that is approved by the state and for the U.S. Park Service. It's approved to work that way. It doesn't have to be a city employee, because you really need someone full-time. A city employee who is trying to do the city stuff and the Main Street stuff,
Right.
can't do that anymore.
Okay.
I mean, even Miss Rita, she worked hard. She was on that street every day talking to people. And, but she worked for Main Street. She didn't do other things,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But after her passing, I mean, it's been a challenge. And I've been on that board for many years. It is a challenge.
Thank you for coming tonight.
All right, so, yeah, Mr. Step.
All right, first of all, I'm gonna tell you how you get your money. Charlotte had the title of Main Street Director, correct? Wasn't that her title? I'm asking, what was Charlotte's title? Tourism Coordinator, okay. Okay, if she was tourism coordinator, that came with the salary, correct? She was designated as the person, the liaison between the City of Crowley and Main Street, correct? $30,500. Okay, that should still be in the budget. That position should still be in the budget. The way that you get it to the numbers that they're talking about, you amend the budget. Okay? You add certain duties that's other than what we have. And I'm here to tell you, I've been to the governor's economic development, this is the first year I missed. The last one was in Baton Rouge at the casino. And I remember him saying, and the lieutenant governor, everything falls under the lieutenant governor, that Main Street brings in $1.10 forward. Okay, because basically what you're looking at, it keeps your mom and pop business, quote unquote, alive. The way we can do this is very simple. First of all, we don't have a budget to look at, so we don't know what's in or out or what may be. But this council has the power to amend anything, because we have the power to say no to the budget. Okay? I'm not trying to say blackmail or anything else. But you got an organization right here that went through two, and I remember when Rita was there, he's 100% right. Rita was calling us every day, look, we need her and Ms. Keith. They were working together hand in hand. LJ, I know you've been there a long time, because basically I remember the little building alongside the theater. We was walking there, in fact, you had to step down to get into it. I almost broke my neck in that place. But the way we do it is very simple. Let's start with, and I love to call her name because she deserves it, Ms. Shaw. And see what her position is. It should still be in the budget, because if they put a budget together, she just passed away recently. And she was not fired, she was furloughed. Correct? So that means her position is still there. Well, she was not fired. Okay, her and I, we had conversations. But my thing is this. LJ, y'all need to present the actual of what y'all need. Okay, you say that y'all budget is over $100,000? I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's what it takes.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is, present that to the mayor, finance, and let it come to us, and let us handle over what's what. Because at the end of the day, anytime that you can bring something to the table that brings in money and not take it away, that's something that the city has an obligation to look into. All right? And I know for a fact Main Street stands, because I just read the paper that y'all gave, what, $10,000 or something, to some of the people. I know Crowley was big. I'm not trying to point you out.
I'm not sure.
Facade grant, I think it was a facade grant.
Okay, facade, that means the
Grants
grants
and
and all this
stuff,
stuff.
That's right.
We actually, there was another round of facade grants that just came up, and there was 3 property owners that applied. And that's another thing, is that there are several grants that have become available because the city is a Main Street community.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is this, if y'all would.
And it hasn't been, that money hasn't been given out this year yet.
Right.
Right, but I know Crowley was selected, because I remember reading the paper. But why don't we do this? Get with the chair of finance, y'all present y'all proposal, because it's gonna come to us ultimately anyway. And like I said, right now, we don't have nothing to look at. We don't know what's in the budget and what's not. It should have been here like last month, as Clint said, and ready. We don't know what's going on. We don't have a clue as to who's, what, where, or when. But if y'all wanna do this, and also, I know there's another grant through the Office of the Lieutenant Governor. Giving them, yes, you can call his office over in Washington. They can give you, where they, if I'm not mistaken, they would match certain monies that entails from the city. I'm not sure how it goes, but he's in charge of tourism. That's his main job. So I would tell y'all to go ahead and get a proposal to, the mayor's office, and let's see what we can do. And I know we should be able to start with, Charlotte South. That should still be in there.
Should be, but I don't know.
Well, it has to be, because you can't not do nothing. She just passed away. She was not fired, okay, her position was not terminated.
She was laid off.
That's what I'm saying, laid off. No, she was not terminated. Don't use the term terminated, she was not terminated. Okay? I don't know why you would even come in with that.
Does laid off mean the same thing?
No, it don't. Hell no, it don't. Okay, terminated means don't come back, just be terminated. Laid off means we may call you back. Laid off, not terminated. So I don't know where the hell you come from, but you always got to throw mud, on the windshield. And to be honest with you, I'm getting sick and tired of your bull crap.
No,
All right, but anyway, we talking about,
all we're asking,
present what you got and let us take it from there.
we'll do that. And all we're asking is to consider Main Street as a permanent thing for the city of Crowley. And, it's gonna take some stability to do it. And we've been running year to year and not knowing who's on the board and what's gonna happen, and this one leaves the board and the new one comes on. We need stability. We need someone in charge of it, and that person will have to be a paid position.
Appreciate y'all.
Okay.
Mr. Remo?
Any
Yes.
questions? Any other questions?
Mr. Reagan just texted and said that he would need y'all to provide a financial statement for, us to look at before receiving any public funding.
Correct. We could do that.
Didn't I just say that?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
this.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Any other business come before, Community Economic Development Committee? And then we'll recess.
Thank you, Mr. Reggie. Revenue and Finance, Mr. Cavell.
Thank you, sir. The Revenue and Finance Committee convenes. We have a quorum. Purpose of said meeting. And I move, is to consider, and I move to bring to full council for consideration the resolution of the Mayor Board of Aldermen of the City of Crowley, Katy Parish, Louisiana, fixing the date of Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, at 6 p.m. Council Chambers for a public hearing to be held to consider the adoption of the annual budget for fiscal year 2020-2021 and authorizing publication of notice of a hearing and availability of proposed annual budget for the fiscal year 2021. Now, so moved.
Well, I will second because we do need to discuss this matter. No, but the matter needs to be discussed.
You go,
You don't discuss.
we have a second. We have a second.
Step, wait, there's more to it.
Before going forward with the discussion, I want to remind the board that this discussion will be limited to the scope of the motion, which is a matter of moving to full council for consideration. And that drafts of the proposed budget will be provided to each of the board members at the conclusion of the meeting, and copies will be made available to the general public by contacting City Hall and arranging for pickup. Thank you for cooperation, and now discussion is open. Yes, Ms. Stringfellow?
So we're gonna be, we're gonna be delivered the, budget,
After meeting.
oh, okay.
What was that?
August 25th.
August 25th. It's on the resolution. It's attached to your paperwork.
Okay.
We're gonna get the draft budget tonight?
You're getting the draft budget tonight, okay? Public hearing is set. If it gets past council, 20 days from now. So you have 20 days. And that's the motion. The motion right now to move this to public, full council to approve the public hearing for August 25th. Yes, Mr. Freeman.
Also, I talked with Aaron today, And she said, once everyone received their budget and looked over it, any questions that they had, to please call her so that she can answer those, as many of those questions as possible before the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can we get that in our hand, can we get that budget in hand now, at this moment, instead of waiting after the meeting and after we approve this? I like to have something.
Mr. Cord, if I may say, the answer to your question is no, because the motion has, the substance within the budget right now is not part of the motion. The part of the motion is just to go forward with this to the council meeting next week. So having it in hand, looking at it now, it has no bearing. It's just to move this to the council, you'll get it out to the meeting. Now, at council, when you have a discussion at that motion, you can discuss,
I understand, Mr. Creel. I just want to know if we're gonna physically get the budget in our hand. We've been promised things before. I'll have this to you in an hour. We haven't done this. Are those copies here now?
Have I ever been wrong to you? Have I ever told you a lie? What did I say? You will receive a budget at the end of the meeting. You're gonna receive a budget.
A draft budget.
You're gonna receive a draft budget at the end of the meeting.
Okay.
I don't know, I mean, I was very clear with that. Anybody else? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passed. Any other legal action to come before the council? Meeting committee? Revenue finance, recess. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why you doubt? Why you doubt? No, you did.
I did a copy of